Today we continue our study of the book of Revelation. In chapter 6, we move on to the third verse. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth, and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. Now this is predicated on understanding that this war starts with the rider on the white horse, the one from last week, the first seal. And inevitably, when one goes out conquering to conquer, the next thing that happens is some kind of war. Now, it may not be the kind of war that we think of in our head for like World War II or Korean War. It may be all kinds of wars, the way that we do things economically here or political infighting. All kinds of things happen when evil people get to be in charge of things and they have their own agenda and they're trying to fulfill their own powerful desires. So this fiery red horse, he comes and is given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. Was given power. It sounds like this is something that God is allowing to happen, and that this red horseman, the rider of the red horse, has more power than the person who might think of themselves as being in charge of the wars. War tends to get bigger than the people who are involved in it. It's a greater thing, a larger thing than just the individuals involved. Now, war is not always wrong. I am not a pacifist. There are times when the only way to stop an aggressive, horrible evil is through the use of war. But most of the time, there are other alternatives. And if there is any way that we can avoid getting into these conflicts, we ought to do everything possible to avoid them, because when we get into these conflicts, it necessarily creates this chain of events which is going to lead to shortages and death and famines and plagues and all the other things that are talked about in the continuation of these seals. So when we look at war, we ought never to see it in glorious terms. Now, I understand that when we look through the history books that oftentimes these conquerors are lifted up, and these people that were great generals are lifted up as great saviors of the people. But for the most part, that's not the way we ought to see it. We ought to see the men of peace and the women of peace as being the ones who are truly important for making this world what it needs to be.